Some dare call it conspiracy.
Welcome to Some Dare Call It Conspiracy with Brent Lee and Neil Sanders.
As the planet spirals into a fascist dystopia, we thought someone really should keep a record of this decline, so that when the aliens are sifting through the ashes of civilization, they might be able to see where it all went wrong.
This is The World According to Some.
Or as all the hepcats are calling it, twats. I love that. I love hepcats because most people go, "What the fuck?"
What's a hepcat?
Yeah. What's a hepcat? Do you know hepcat, by the way? The band?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, they're ace. Like that reminded me of it. Me doing that, I was like, shit. And so I was listening to them the other day, and it's like fucking amazing. I remember these, like, so good. Right. So how should we start it? We started.
We've
right.
started, mate.
Right, well, there you go then. Fair enough. So we're up to February the 3rd. And so if people remember, Elon Musk has started DOGE. This is a crack team of complete experts. They've got control of all sorts of things, although they're hoping to get control of all sorts of things like the Treasury, Medicare, Social Security. And so people are a little bit suspicious. Then it transpires that these people might not necessarily have the requisite experience that people would usually expect with a job of this magnitude, shall we say, where you're looking at sensitive material. This is a thing that people are genuinely worried. So,
basically auditing the federal government.
Yeah, and deciding where the funding goes and stuff like that. Yeah, you'd imagine you'd need all sorts of skills.
You'd have a good CV, wouldn't you?
You'd hope to have a really good CV. I mean, ideally, you'd want somebody that's sort of a bit of a polymath as well. They'd have to understand sociology. They'd have to understand a degree of sort of medicine and what's good for that. They'd have to understand economics and things like that. They'd have to have some experience with the world, really. Like,
so your average Twitter user, then?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everyone. We could find, or we could give it to Twitter. Vox populi, vox die, or whatever it is. Like, and just see how it is. Or you could do what Elon Musk does, which was hired a load of basically children.
What, his own children?
No, not quite. They're probably not quite old enough. But essentially, there's about 6 or 7 of these people who have come to be known on the internet as the Musk rats. And this was first reported by Wired, and I think friend of the show David Gilbert was actually involved in this. A bit of a scoop, to be quite honest. The team that Musk has decided to hire is Akash Bobber, who's 21, a student at the University of California, Edward Korestein, 19, who's a student at Northeastern University in Boston, and Ethan Sheotran, 22, who said in September that he was a senior at Harvard. And then there's a couple who've actually got degrees or at least have left college. There's Luke Farrett, 23, who attended the University of Nebraska without graduating, Gautier Cole Killian, a 24-year-old who attended McGill University, and Gavin Gleager, a 25-year-old who attended Berkeley. So, I don't remember what were you like when you were sort of in your mid-20s, Brent? Were you responsible enough to oversee a mass audit of the government and charitable aid programs and such like that?
That's a definite no.
Yeah.
I don't think I am right now.
No, probably not. No, this is the sort of thing. Tends to be why you tend to have civil servants and people that have been in a job for a long time, experience and experts. The problem is, fascism doesn't really like experts, because they tend to point out the flaws in the system and the unfairness.
We've had enough of experts.
Absolutely, we've had enough of experts. But the interesting thing was that basically, so Wired has put this out, and a lot of people also were spreading this on the internet. And Elon Musk being a champion of free speech, had a massive hissy fit. It was exposed who these people were, and the group's sort of lack of experience, no positions in government, no knowledge of government working, like was decried by a lot of people, basically. So what's strange is that all 6 of them have tried to cover their digital tracks recently. They've basically deleted a lot of the social media presence, X accounts, Facebook, and stuff like this. But we do know a little bit about some of them. Other stuff might come out in the future. Who can say? But at the minute, on February the 3rd, all we know is that Gavin Cleasure, a 25-year-old who attended Berkeley, he used to work for Twitter and then a cloud software company. And he writes a Substack in which he praises Pete Hegseth and claims that Matt Gaetz, who we remember paid a lot of money to do drugs and have sex with children, was set up by the deep state. So, that's interesting. Luke Farritor, who's 23, he interned at SpaceX, and that's how he's found this particularly lucrative and powerful position. Sheo Tran, what's his first name? Can't remember. Ethan Sheo Tran. Well, he worked on autonomous vehicles in his final year at Harvard, so maybe he's got some sort of connection with Elon Musk through that. We don't really know. And Edward Korestein, who's only 19, he basically did an internship at Neuralink, and Akash Bobber interned at Palantir. So, these are kids that have, if we're brutally honest, haven't really sort of had proper jobs. They've interned and such like that. They're obviously very brilliant kids, right? But they're kids. And being brilliant doesn't necessarily give you the skills that are required for a job like this. Even if let's pretend for a second that it isn't what it is a slashing and a destruction of the American administration, which is essentially what Project 2025 and Steve Bannon have been talking about for years, that they wanted to destroy the administration of the United States. And what this is to do is to avoid regulation for business and for the president to essentially install dictatorial powers that don't have to go through Congress and don't have any oversight. They could just make sweeping reforms and sweeping decisions and just watch to see if these happen to benefit the general populace or the incredibly rich. So this is what people are saying. People are sort of like crying foul and saying that this is stupid. These really shouldn't be in charge of these sorts of things. Now, when the names were revealed on Twitter, and people were like, "Hang on, these are the kids that are basically looking at everything that sort of is important in our life." Can you guess what Musk tweeted back?
Yes.
No, he tweeted back, "You have committed a crime." And he insisted that these tweets be removed. And he wasn't alone. Turning Point USA, who was one of these massive foundations that just so sort of have to have links to Cokes and the Heritage Foundation and stuff like that. The Coke Industries is what I'm talking about there, who would definitely benefit from a lack of regulation and oversight. Charlie Kirk, who works for them, was among those who rushed to attack Wired and defended the young engineers. He said, "Remember when Wired was focused on cutting-edge technology and how young college dropout founders could change the world?
Oh, gosh.
Not anymore. Now they're doxing DOGE employees and whining that they're too young and inexperienced to reform America's government. America's experienced expert class have led this country to ruin. Young geniuses with a startup mentality could save it." I mean, I know. It does sound a bit like unfettered fascism, and a sort of, you could even, if you wanted to get really silly, tie in sort of like concepts of like labels, right? The youth, the Hitler youth and stuff like that. Young girls doing cartwheels, that sort of thing, and telling experts that they don't know what they're bloody talking about, and look at the mess you've got us into with the Treaty of Versailles, not the Treaty of Versailles, sorry, with DOGE. Sorry, we're talking about DOGE. Sorry, we are talking about DOGE. Anyway, so Charlie Kirk was not impressed with this. Elon Musk threw a tantrum, but all that was really revealed was the names, the ages, and some very, very light facts about who these people are. and they're a bunch of like 19 to 25-year-olds, obviously very, very bright, but that isn't necessarily the point. Now, will we find out more about these people and their characters and what they used to get up to as this series goes on? Who can say? Probably. Anyway, in October, Elon Musk had done something that a lot of people had not noticed. And this sort of came back up. People were sort of like spotting this, and this came back to the forefront, particularly in line with some of the things that had been said prior to the election and some of the things that were now being said after the election, and also this mass slashing of charitable organisations, social safety nets, and things like that. You see, let's see if you can guess, Brent. What do you think Elon Musk predicted if Donald Trump was elected?
Oh my God, I don't know. He said stuff like the war in Ukraine would stop.
Not
Any of
well,
that
he has
sort of
said
kind
that.
of conflicts, or are we talking something else here?
It's not exactly that, no. Elon Musk had said that if Trump was elected, there would definitely be a massive economic crash in America.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
yeah, a lot of people seem to have missed that, basically. This is what Musk stated in a call, talking about how Donald Trump's policies would affect Americans. He said, "We have to reduce spending to live within our means, and that necessarily involves some temporary hardship, but it will ensure long-term prosperity." Now, this is the point. It makes it clear that disruption is not an unintended side effect. This is what the plan was. All this chaos, rising prices, inflation, people being put into hardship. This is essentially their plan. And somebody had tweeted out Fisher King, spelled Fischer, which is a reference to Bobby Fischer. And I don't think this bloke, I mean, he might be a chess fan, but I don't think that's why he's got Bobby Fischer as his avatar. Could be completely wrong. Who knows? Maybe it is Bobby Fischer. Bobby Fischer was a chess player that seemed to go mad, and basically, despite being an absolute genius, very, very much bought into the idea that there was a world plot, a new world order, than it was specifically run by Jewish people. So it's interesting that Elon Musk is interacting with someone with that connotation in their Twitter avatar. Anyway, so this person said, and this was in October, if Trump succeeds in forcing through mass deportations combined with Elon hacking away at government, firing people and reducing the deficit, there will be an initial severe overreaction in the economy. This economy, propped up with debt, generating asset bubbles, and artificially suppressed wages as a result of illegal immigration, markets will tumble. But when the storm passes and everyone realizes we're on a sounder footing, there will be a rapid recovery to a healthier, sustainable economy. History could be made in the coming 2 years. And Elon Musk had responded, sounds about right. And so this is the thing. So, but what's interesting about that is twofold. Like, there's a lot of people that say basically, "Oh, we didn't vote for this" and stuff like that. Evidently, some people actually did. Like, but this is the other thing. Like, a lot of people didn't. A lot of people did. It was gas prices and eggs and stuff like that. And when I say they did vote for this, they voted for Elon going in and tinkering. But basically, they thought that what he was going to do was do what he kind of is doing, which is basically like make it hard for people, minorities, and be a bit of a shit. What they didn't expect him to do was muck about with all sorts of other stuff. And also, basically, they seem to have this complete double think, obviously, now about the price of everything. That was one of the major things. Biden's raised the price of eggs. Biden's raised the price of fuel. Well, all of that's gone up. All of that has gone up quite significantly since Donald Trump has come to power. He's doing a shit job. Basically, he's not doing anything. He's standing there and insulting people.
He's doing a lot. He's slashing the hell out of that country.
Well, he's signing a lot of shit that he doesn't know what it is until it's been put across his desk and stuff. And he's let Elon Musk and a bunch of sort of like hormonally charged, power crazed kids like access to, you know, everybody's social security and the money of the nation. Like, I was thinking back, right? Okay, you remember when we were in bands? We're about that age, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. What happened when we got a bit of a rider, or we got a bit of a decent response from an audience, or we got like, you know, anything like that? Like, did you act a bit like the fool and let it go a little bit to your head, and
No.
maybe, you know, act a bit like a rock star? Like, yeah, because I know I fucking well did. Like, and can you imagine if, like, you know, we were in a pub, like in front of 40 people, going, "Yay! These kids have been given access to huge amounts of like power." Do you think it might go to their heads?
Totally. Huge amounts of power and probably huge amounts of money.
Yeah, you would think so. Like, although, you know, Elon is not known for, he's quite the taskmaster, apparently, isn't he, basically? But hey ho. Like, but yeah, like, it's probably the consensus is these kids aren't really old enough to be doing this. But something that is really, really old is an obscure 18th century law that Donald Trump decided to roll out in order to be able to deport people without due process. Yeah. You know, he's on about these mass deportations, and previously we'd spoke about how he'd caused problems by sending people on military planes shackled by their ankles and by their wrists, which just created an incredible embarrassment for the country that they tried to pass off as a win. It caused them a huge amount of expense because they had to take the people back, only for the Colombian president to send his own private jet to take these people home with some dignity. And this has happened a few times in a few different countries. But basically, after being sworn in, Donald Trump, the 47th president, gave federal agencies until the 3rd of February to prepare to invoke the 1798 Alien Enemies Act. Right, this is nothing to do with Independence Day, the film. Like, this
My
is a
thoughts
law.
exactly.
This is a law that basically allows migrants suspected, not proven, but suspected of illegal activity to be deported without the court hearing that would normally occur in such an incident or in any civilized country on the planet. But and do you know where the law was last used? It was
No
used
idea.
shortly after World War II, when they were rounding up Americans of Japanese descent and putting them into concentration camps. Can you remember that? Well, obviously, we don't remember that, but it was a thing. There was a television series called The Terror, Series 2, that was about that. And yeah, that's the law that Donald Trump has decided to try and invoke.
There's a good Mike Shinoda song about it as well. Think about his grandfather, who
Oh,
was
right.
in the internment camp.
George Takei, I believe, was in there as a young child. And,
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you know, but it is not a fondly remembered thing, and so invoking such a law to do similar things. And the problem is as well is that basically, like, you know, you're just talking about people that are suspected. I absolutely guarantee that you're going to find this. There's been loads of mistaken identities, administrative errors, people that have been removed and sent to countries that they've never, like, do you know, even been to, and such like that. People who've been here, you know, since they were children or whatever. There's going to be all sorts of problems. People sent to the wrong country, and it's just, again, you can do these things via due process, but this is exactly the sort of thing that actually Alex Jones and stuff like that has previously sort of like complained about, this militarization and this treating people as less than human. So Reuters reported that after taking office, Trump ordered military and immigration officials to be ready to implement the 1798 Alien Enemies Act, last used to justify internment camps for people of Japanese, German, and Italian descent during World War II. The move, which would almost certainly face legal challenges, could allow him to bypass due process rights and rapidly remove migrants. But even with Trump's early sweeping actions, his administration will have to contend with overwhelming immigration courts where asylum cases can take years to resolve. Trump expanded a fast-track deportation process known as expedited removal, but it only applies to those in the US for 2 years or less and still gives migrants the ability to claim asylum. However, the Alien Enemies Act could allow Trump to rapidly deport migrants deemed part of an invasion or predatory incursion, which is a novel use of a law previously only invoked in wartime. Republicans frequently refer to illegal immigration as an invasion and portray migrants as dangerous criminals and military aged. So, this is something that we've spoken about, this concept of these lies that came from previous conspiracy theories that were started by a militia group called the Minutemen, which was this idea that the United Nations would be used to take over countries. And the concept was that if I'm a soldier from France or whatever, I won't see Americans as necessarily humans, or I will be far easier in carrying out violent military actions against civilians because they're not of my own origin. Now, just saying that out loud, that says far more about the Minutemen than it does about the United Nations. Because you've got to remember, like, they made this plot up. And if that's sort of that's how it would work if I did it. If I was doing it, I'd kill a Frenchman. I'd kill a Frenchman right now. Show me a fucking Frenchman. Get me one. Like that's literally what they're saying, isn't it? They would have no qualms gunning down, rounding us up, sticking us in barns and lighting fire to the doors until we all burnt to cinders because, a foreigner, there's no way I can relate to them on a human level. It's just impossible. That's what they're saying. That is literally what they're saying. Anyway, this foreign army got tied in with the Great Replacement theory, which was essentially created by Camus. Not Camus who wrote The Stranger. It was a different Camus. So you can still read that book and listen to the Cure song about it without feeling guilty. It was Renaud Camus that came up with the Great Replacement theory, which is the idea that white people are being replaced and eventually we will be wiped out by foreigners. And Camus is actually an academic. He's written some very sort of involved books and things like that. But do you know what his primary evidence is for the Great Replacement theory? Quite
Nothing.
a lot of quite a lot of foreigners knocking about. More than I remember when I was a bloody kid. Like, literally, his argument, his academic argument, is the same thing that I would have to chastise my nan about saying. Like, it literally is. Like, it's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. And this sort of morphed together to come up with the concept that perhaps asylum seekers, immigrants, and you'll notice again that they're mashing this together now in America, this concept of, asylum seekers get a due process. We can't have that because they're just illegal immigrants. We don't know if they are yet because they haven't gone through the due process. This is a very old tactic. But yeah, this is where the concept of immigrants are probably this invading army, like a massive sleeper cell that are essentially setting up in hotels and barracks around the country, waiting for the signal to attack. I mean, they haven't got any weapons.
You don't know what the UN has planted.
Well, that's true. That is true. Actually, the UN could be shipping them in, like, absolutely. But it's a stupid idea. But that's where it came from. Anywho, you can remember that. Speaking of stupid ideas, you can remember that Elon Musk had decided that all foreign aid is a bad idea. Yep. And that he was basically going to shut it down and had begun lying, essentially, about what it is that these organisations do. But on February the 3rd, the USAID building was closed. Now, there's over 10,000 people that work for this organisation. and it was completely unclear what on earth was going on. And Associated Press reported that the Trump administration and billionaire ally Elon Musk moved to eradicate the agency that provides crucial aid and funds education to fight starvation, epidemic, and poverty overseas, sparking a showdown with congressional Democrats who blasted the effort as illegal and vowed a court fight. In one of the most dramatic dramatic efforts to push back on President Donald Trump's bid to slash and reshape the federal government, some Democrats sought Monday to enter the headquarters of the U.S. Agency for International Development, but they were blocked by officers from even broaching the lobby. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that he was the acting administrator of the agency, despite it being an independent body for 6 decades. So people turned up to work, and essentially they got security staff to stop them from entering into the building.
Oh my God.
And obviously Elon Musk, because there's 10,000 people who all of a sudden might be out of a job. I mean, that's the very real human aspect just of this part of it. And that's even before we've gone into the concept that basically what USAID does is probably a good idea. But Elon Musk decided to boast on Twitter that he'd spent the weekend feeding USAID into the wood chipper. Which, just goes to show what a prick he is. But Trump had already told reporters that shutting down USAID should have been done a long time ago. Now, he needs approval from Congress to do this. But when he was asked if he needed approval from Congress, he said, no, I don't think so. Which shows that he either doesn't understand government or, more likely, doesn't really care.
Nope.
So, there was a bit of a demonstration, but Musk declared, we're going to shut it down. So basically, what is USA? Well, the USA is one of the largest providers of humanitarian aid, and basically this has upended decades of US policy that put humanitarian assistance and development at the centre of efforts to sort of build alliances and counter adversaries. It's more complicated than just sort of like throwing money at stuff. It's helping prevent problems before they become problems. There's a huge disparity in wealth right across the country. Can you believe that a lot of people don't tend to like America as an idea? For crying out loud, in and around, they call the Great Satan. So if they actually sort of do humanitarian efforts in other countries, it's a good PR move. Also, it prevents knock-on problems. If we have epidemics in one country, that might spread around the world. If we have wars, you have mass displacement of people, and that exacerbates refugees, asylum seekers, and illegal and legal immigration. If you have problems economically in one part of the world, that can have knock-on effects that can affect all sorts of things like food production, fuel production, the general sort of order of the world. Destabilization can lead to wars and conflicts. This can disrupt all sorts of things. It's a bloody complicated place out there, and so a country that has got such influence and power and resources should really be doing these types of actions, not really even to help the other people, not even out of a sense of are you my brother's keeper? Just being fucking a human being. They should do it for selfish reasons, because you're preventing a huge amount of problems coming at you down the line. But Republicans are essentially framing this as just like a waste of money, and they're also trying to frame it as like advancing liberal causes, it's all woke, isn't it? It's the wokerati and stuff like that, and some examples of that might be coming up just shortly. The long and short of it is, though, is that the US spends less than 1% of its budget on foreign assistance, which is actually
okay.
Yeah. This is what Donald Trump and Elon Musk's DOGE are slashing away at to get back all these trillions of dollars and such. It's less than 1% of the budget.
I guess it does, like, it ties in with their America First policy, doesn't it?
Yeah, on a very surface level.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But not really when you really think about it. Like you said, preventing problems elsewhere stops those problems coming to your country,
Yeah, precisely.
you know?
But what they're doing as well is they're framing this as fraud. They're uncovering fraud. I mean, they've never actually given any evidence of fraud, but that's the line. We're slashing costs, we're saving the country money, and we're uncovering fraud, and it's absolutely bullshit, basically. Like, and the other thing is that basically only a minority of this US economic assistance goes to governments. So in 2018, 21% of US official development assistance went to governments, 20% went to non-profit organizations, 34% went to multilateral organizations, and 25% went elsewhere. Typically, when the US wants to support a country that is ruled by a corrupt, uncooperative, or autocratic government, US assistance goes through private channels, NGOs, or other private entities, or multilateral organizations. There's no evidence of fraud or waste. Now, if you want to have a conversation about, like, well, which NGOs does it go to, and who would be considered a corrupt politician, who would be considered somebody that they would use NGOs or private entities to provide counter assistance, shall we say, and stuff like that. Like, this is where it does get into murky areas. Like, but those aren't the things that they're going to look at. They certainly aren't going to look at that type of thing. And I tell you what, they won't look at: the military budget, which is over $1 trillion. Like, it's
Exactly.
let's play a guessing game.
Okay.
In subsidies over the past decade, how much money has SpaceX received from the government? This is subsidies, so basically a gift from the government.
100 billion.
Not quite. 15 billion. Which is still a bugger ton, right? Okay, that is far more than they're talking about in this the USAID, essentially. Other companies that have received huge subsidies, and this is basically in the last 24 years. Boeing has received 15.5 billion. Intel has received 8.4 billion. Ford has received 7.7 billion. General Motors has received 7.5 billion. Micron Technology has received 6.8 billion. Amazon, oh God, I'm glad that they get something, because they're really struggling, aren't they? They get 5.9 billion. They're struggling so much, right? Okay, they have to treat their workers really bad, and have to crush unions and stuff like that.
Man,
Poor sods.
feel sorry for them, yeah.
Isn't it? Alcoa, they've had 5.7 billion in subsidies. Cheniere Energy, 5.6 billion. Foxconn Technology, 4.8 billion. Venture Global, 4.3 billion. Texas Instruments, 4.3 billion. Volkswagen, oh thank God, they get 4.1 billion. Sempra Energy, they get 3.8 billion. NRG Energy get 3.4 billion. Next Era Energy get 3.4 billion. Sasol get 2.8 billion. Tesla, oh thank God, because I was like, poor Tesla, they only got 2.8 billion in subsidies between the year 2000 and 2024. Walt Disney, because obviously they need it, they get 2.6 billion from the government in subsidies, and Nucor get 2.6 billion in subsidies. But strangely, DOGE doesn't appear to be looking at that. They appear to be looking at charitable organisations and social support structures that help the poorest and the most needy people on the planet, which is strange, really. But somebody that also is cancelling contracts and reducing people's income is the government of Canada. Specifically, they decided to cancel a Starlink contract worth 100 million. And Starlink is obviously Elon Musk's satellite network that he uses for the internet, and also allegedly to help Russians kill Ukrainians. Never
Go
mind.
Canada.
Go Canada. But the contract, which was first signed in November, aimed to provide high-speed internet access through Starlink satellite services to 15,000 eligible homes and businesses, notably those in remote, rural, and northern communities of Canada. And this was to be done by June this year. But Doug Ford, the Premier of Canada, said, "We'll be ripping up the province," or is it the Premier of Ontario? I don't know. Doug Ford. He's the brother, I believe, of that great big fat guy that was caught smoking crack. It seemed like it seemed like quite a fun time. He looks a bit like Chris Farley, and I think he accidentally knocked a woman over once running past her in Parliament. Great times. Anyway, his brother, Doug Ford, says, "We'll be ripping up the province's contract with Starlink. Ontario won't do business with people hell-bent on destroying our economy." And this is essentially in response to all this nonsense that's been going on with Trump saying that he's going to impose tariffs on Canada and they're going to destroy it economically. Can you remember Tim Pool was rather enthusiastic about the concept of after we destroy Canada economically, that's when we roll the tanks up, or words to that effect.
Yep. And 51st state?
Yeah, it's going to be the 51st state, basically. And Caroline Levitt has said this as well at the press secretary. Various other sycophantic Republican politicians have also made similar sort of noises. But Ford warned that US businesses are going to lose out on tens of billions of dollars as a result of Canada's response to these tariffs, and also the deal with Starlink. It's 100 million or 68.5 million US dollars, because there's a slight difference. But basically, he turned around and said they've only got President Trump to blame. Now, Elon Musk basically threw a bit of a tantrum on Twitter about this and pretended that he didn't really care. And you can understand why Elon Musk wouldn't really care, because he's got important work. He's got important work to do. He's finding fraud everywhere and like waste of money and stuff like that. And so Caroline Leavitt, she bought receipts, didn't she? She only came with bloody receipts and proved us all wrong by pointing out the huge amount of waste that has been coming out of USAID. She says she was asked, why is USAID being shut down? And she stunned the press corps by giving them a lecture about where the money's been going. And are you sitting down, Brent? Because this will make your piss boil.
Well, I'm just thinking of the last time it was condoms, wasn't it?
Condoms, $50 million worth of condoms wastefully sent to Gaza, only to be used by terrorists to float in the air, we assume, bombs into Israel, thus bypassing the Iron Dome.
So I have no idea what she's going to say this time.
Well, you're going to be shocked. She found, or DOGE found, that $1.5 million went to Serbia, right, to advance DEI in the workplace. $70,000, right? $70,000 went to Ireland for the production of a DEI-based musical play. Right? $47,000 went to Colombia for the sole purpose of putting on what she described as a trans opera. And $32,000 went to Peru to help in the production of what she described as a trans comic. I mean, this is just outrageous. It's outrageous. And she said, I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap.
I'm surprised you actually did mean proper receipts.
Well, I mean, when I say proper receipts, I don't mean factually accurate receipts. I mean, it's just some stuff that she said. I mean, it was seized upon by fucking morons all over Twitter and all over the world, and it was repeated in the Daily Mail, as well as some other publications. But there was a single flaw with it, which was it was bollocks. It was not true. It was, if we're being really, really kind, a gross misrepresentation of programs that have happened. For example, the production of an opera, this trans opera. She's referring to a 2022 production of an opera called As One, which is a chamber opera by acclaimed American composer Laura Kaminsky. And it focuses on the inner journey of Hannah, who's a transgender woman, and her process of personal discovery from her childhood in a small town. Now, the 3 performances of this opera were put on in Bogota, Colombia, in March and April of 2022. And this was basically thanks to a co-production between La Compañía Estable and the Universidad de los Andes. So basically, the $47,000 that she quoted appears to be related to the fact that the University de los Andes in Bogota received $25,000 under a State Department program allocated for expanding and strengthening the relationships between the people and government of the United States and citizens of the rest of the world. So it was nothing to do with the American government. That didn't go towards this opera. And the remaining $22,000 that she's on about wasn't even funded by the American government either. Apparently, according to Notice, which is a Washington publication from the non-profit, non-partisan All Britain Journalism Institute, it came from other places. So when she was asked about this, was this a lie? Was this a mistake? Was this a distortion of the facts? Anna Kelly basically said of Notice that it was immaterial. President Trump is delivering on his promise to cut wasteful spending across federal agencies. Notice is totally missing the point. Taxpayers don't want to fund transgender operas in Colombia, which is fortunate because they aren't. They just aren't. Right. So, what about the production of a musical play that was based on DEI that was to be put on in Ireland? Well, that grant came from the State Department, not USAID, and it wasn't for a play. It was a music festival. So, according to USA Spending, the State Department paid $70,000 in 2022 to, and I'm going to butcher this, the Kieludra Company Limited by Guarantee to promote the US and Irish shared values of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. The grant funded the 2022 music festival at the US Embassy in Ireland, and this was according to the Irish news site Gripes. Now, the event featured performances from Irish musicians. So this was a festival that was put on to foster relations between America and Ireland, and this was done by the State Department. It wasn't done by USAID. They're just lying about where this funding goes, and they're lying about what it was actually for. So the $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru was also not part of USAID funding. It came from a Fulbright program. The Fulbright is an international educational exchange program sponsored by the State Department, and basically it's like they offer grants. It's like there's the Fulbright Scholarship, the Rhodes Scholarship. They're all to do with educational programs, basically. And this particular one was designed to increase mutual understanding between the US and other countries. And the award was to cover expenses to produce a tailor-made comic featuring an LGBTQ hero to address social and mental health issues. It doesn't specifically mention a transgender character at all. So it wasn't a transgender comic. It wasn't financed by USAID. It was through an educational grant to promote education.
Wow.
So it's just ridiculous, isn't it? They're just lying about where the funding comes from, claiming that they've uncovered it in USAID. None of it comes from USAID, and they're lying about everything that it's actually being done for.
Yeah, at first I just thought, maybe they're not very good at research, but now it's just lies.
There was one which was actually true, which was that USA did spend or send a grant to a group in Serbia called Grupa Izadi, which is a Serbian LGBTQ rights group. They sent this $1.5 million from USAID to this charitable organisation, and this was aimed at promoting workplace diversity in Serbia for LGBTQ people and reducing workplace discrimination. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. And it's $1.5 million. Fucking hell, Jake Paul shits that. It's nothing. Are we really, really, like, do you know what I mean? The amount of appalling consumption that we've got going on at the minute and stuff like that. If you're really that bothered about sums of money like that, then you really should be, because you feel that that's been taken away from you. I don't know. There's some sort of a schism there with like, you know, these concepts of like, get Alex Jones to sell one of his fucking Rolexes, get Tom McDonald to sell his stupid like jewelry.
Yeah, exactly. Like that amount of money is just a drop in the
It's
ocean of
insignificant,
what they're
isn't it?
trying to cut, allegedly. So this is just them virtue signaling.
Absolutely.
They're going after things that the people, I guess, that voted for them want them to go after.
Yeah. They enjoy having the ability to persecute people. You know, somebody who really, really enjoys the ability to persecute people and was complaining on Twitter that this ability might be in some way curtailed was Harrison Smith from Infowars. Do you know Harrison Smith?
I don't think so, no.
He's got these two new sort of like lackeys who remind me a little bit of those two, like, what was it, Bebop and Rocksteady, the guys with Shredder in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, one's called Chase Geyser and one's called Harrison Smith. And I don't like to be rude or cast aspersions on people's appearances, but they both look like store-bought Halloween costumes of child molesters. And I'm only saying that because they've both been acting fucking dickheads on Twitter. Since Donald Trump's come in, they've both got this real attitude that they're in with Alex Jones and they're the shit, and they've been dead aggressive and they've been dead like thing, and it's like, fuck off, the pair of you. You look like fucking Napoleon Dynamite's older brother. Like, you look like the sort of people that pay prostitutes to cuddle them, right? And you have the fucking nerve to act like the way that you've been acting on Twitter. Like, well, you know, then you're fair game. Now, Harrison Smith tweeted this, you see. Like, what had happened was someone called Steve Maguire had tweeted something out, which was a press release. And it said, Justice Department announces formation of task force to combat anti-Semitism. And Steve Maguire put, breaking, the DOGE has just created an anti-Semitism task force. The task force's first priority will be to root out anti-Semitic harassment in schools and on college campuses. Now, can you guess what Harrison Smith's very sensible reaction to this was?
No, I don't want to.
This is a blatant and unacceptable violation of the First Amendment. Separation of church and state. So as far as I can see, what he's arguing is that you should be allowed to be anti-Semitic. You should absolutely be allowed to be anti-Semitic in the workplace or in school, and you should be allowed to harass people because that's your First Amendment right. Now, I think he might have looked at that and gone, Jesus, that comes across a bit bad. So he's decided to tweet out another thing very shortly afterwards that says, anti-Semitism in any environment is repugnant to this nation's ideals, said senior counsel to the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Leo Terrell, who will be heading the task force. So that's a quote. Which is fair, but he somewhat undercuts this by putting the ability to criticize religions is actually the most American thing that there is. And so this is where
Wait. That's not even the thing. It's not about criticizing religion, is it? Like, anti-Semitism isn't about the religion, it's about the people.
Yeah.
Fucking what a dickhead.
And it's about harassment in school and workplaces. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's like, what situation where it's like, other than because you can because of the First Amendment, what situation would it be where it's like, yeah, no, that's a good thing that you're harassing that person because of their religion in your class or at your workplace? Now, I see what he's trying to do. Like, okay, he's talking about free speech absolutism and the First Amendment, but this is one of those things where it proves that is a fucking stupid idea. And I'm sorry if you offended Americans, but it's my fucking right to tell you that. So balls to you. And it is fucking stupid. Like this is how they're trying to frame this stupid bullshit at the minute. Oh, you get arrested for saying shit. You get literally arrested and thrown in jail just for saying you're English in this country. Like it's utter nonsense, because there are limits of free speech, and you want limits of free speech. Oh, I'm a free speech absolutist. I'm an absolutist of free speech. There's nothing that shouldn't or couldn't be said. Oh, brilliant. Can I go to your school and tell all the parents that you're a paedophile? Can I do that? Or do you think that might be defamatory, dangerous, probably detrimental? Like, because you know what? Even if I go around and then tell people, you know what, I was only joking, I was only making a point about free speech, this hypothetical person, some people are going to believe that. That's a life ruin. Like, there should be consequences for stuff like that. And so this concept of free speech is nonsense, because again, like a lot of the people that claim to be Elon Musk, they're the first people to try and slap down anybody that says something that goes against him. He banned the word cisgender. He like the Centre for Countering Digital Hate pointed out that there'd been a massive rise in Nazism on Twitter, and he tried to sue them, like and limit their output. We put out a video calling him a wanker, and our Twitter engagement dropped off a cliff.
In one of our previous episodes of this, like you were talking about, he has banned more non-bot accounts than Jack did in his entire career at Twitter. So
yeah, it's bullshit. It's free speech is an excuse when it's speech that they like, and they're not uniform with it across the board. When somebody says something or does something that they don't like, they'll ban it. When there's a book in Florida that mentions gay people, they'll ban it. When Costa makes a sort of corporate affectation towards not kicking gay people to death just for being gay, you get dickheads like Lawrence Fox. Like, was that what it was about, or was it a race thing, a Black Lives Matter thing? Either way, the point is that they'll abuse that and go, "Oh, you're shoving this down my throat. I don't want to hear that." Blah blah blah.
It was the Costa thing. It was the one coffee van that had a.
There was a coffee van.
It was a mural by a trans artist, and
so it was even more stupid
he
than
had
that.
painted himself, and there was like stitches where his top surgery was, and that was in the painting. That was actually the incident where Lawrence Fox called me a groomer.
Yeah. Like, I remember we were in London when he was about to come out of the Courts of Royal Justice, and we genuinely thought about going over there and laying one on him, but then we decided not to.
Eggs.
Yeah. All right, we'll go with that. Like, we thought better of it. That was also the day that Richard was first in court, wasn't it? And we were doing a lecture at King's College London. It was quite funny actually, because we got into London and we were like, we discovered that all these events were on the same time, and I had a back and forth with Richard, and obviously because of Manchester, and you had a back and forth with Lawrence Fox.
Yeah. And
we knew that certain people that knew both of us were going to be there and such. And we're like, it's fine. London's a very, very big place.
It's huge. It's massive huge. Place.
Absolutely vast. You need a train to get all over the place. There's no way that it'll be just across the street.
Literally.
To the point where I had to take the long route coming off the tube because I was paranoid about bumping into someone like Nick Collestrong. Marvellous. But yeah, so Harrison Smith strongly believes that you should be able to be anti-Semitic. But Someone else that probably thinks that you should be allowed to be anti-Semitic is
Elon?
a chap. Well, definitely, yeah, but also a chap called Darren Beattie. Now, Darren Beattie apparently was a former Donald Trump speechwriter, and he was fired in 2018 after CNN revealed that he'd spoke at a conference attended by white nationalists. Well, he's now been elevated to a top job at the State Department. So he was appointed to serve as acting undersecretary for public diplomacy and public affairs, a key role that was responsible for helping shape US messaging abroad relating to counter-terrorism and violent extremism. So in 2018, it was reported that Beattie, who's a former Duke University instructor, spoke in 2016 to the H.L. Mencken Club. And this is a gathering that has included white nationalist figures such as Richard Spencer and Peter Brimlow. Richard Spencer is the guy that got punched in the face. He was behind the concept of America First. He was financed by William H. Reichenary, whose father was a card-carrying Nazi that supported the very first America First movement in the 30s. Peter Brimlow is responsible for the far-right website VDare, which I'm not sure is even a thing anymore, but at a time it was a big deal, basically, during the sort of first, or prior to the first sort of Trump White House. So at that time, he was working as a speechwriter in the Trump White House, and he defended the speech that he'd made at this essentially white nationalist convention, claiming that it was completely academic in nature, which is, yeah, that's a bit like going to a Screwdriver concert and claiming that you just like the music, but
it's just the art, man.
It's just the art. I can separate the art. It's all right. I'm very conscious I'm wearing a Dark Throne t-shirt whilst I'm saying this, which some might see the irony of that, but never mind. Dark Throne regrettably put out an album. On the back they had in Norwegian written, what was it, pure Northern Aryan black metal, which was yeah,
wow,
yeah, fucked up. Anywho, Beattie has also made a series he founded the right-wing media outlet Revolver News. I don't know if you know Revolver News at all. It's very big on conspiracy about the January 6th attack on the US Capitol being orchestrated by federal agents and maybe even infiltrated by Antifa, that sort of thing. So this is a guy that was a speechwriter for Donald Trump and now works for the State Department, determining who and what is considered an extremist. And he's also
oh my god!
And he's also made a series of, shall we say, racially charged comments. For example, he tweeted last year, and maybe this will give some insight as to his policies, or how he might interject who works in that department or who is an extremist. He said, "Competent white men must be in charge if you want things to work. Unfortunately, our entire national ideology is predicated on coddling the feelings of women and minorities and demoralizing competent white men."
I see why he got the job.
He later praised Dr. James Watson, who is the founder of modern genetics, who has suggested that black people were less intelligent than white people. And he when he says that he said that he was the founder of modern genetics. That's not me saying that. And he also said that this man who said that black people were less intelligent than white people was the greatest living American scientist. And Beattie has repeatedly said that black lawmakers, black policymakers, black groups, and black people need to learn their place and take a knee to MAGA. So
he's recently said that. Wow.
Yeah. But I'm sure that was just his autism or whatever. You've got to understand, he's socially awkward. Oh dear. So we're now on February the 4th. And obviously, it's a tumultuous time and such like this. We've got the president deciding that he might try and bypass Congress. And we'd even spoke about like putting people in Guantanamo Bay. You can remember that? That was the thing. We'd had people who'd already been sort of picked up and deported, who weren't expected to be deported. Remember that lady's husband was deported because he'd refused to take his COVID vaccine?
Yep.
Which the current Health Secretary of the United States of America, RFK Jr., would tell him was a good idea. What a tangled web we weave. Well, anyway, someone came up with an idea that might sort of at least provide a stopgap solution to some of these problems.
I don't even want to guess.
Well, I mean, you're making it sound like it's going to be horrific or stupid or something like that, right? Okay. But calm down, Brent, right? All the American government was doing, right, was suggesting shipping prisoners and illegal immigrants, or who they determined to be illegal immigrants, to the mega jail in El Salvador. You know, the one where it's like up to 80 prisoners in each windowless cell? The one that's been completely criticised by human rights groups, where portions of the prison are run by the prisoners themselves.
Yep.
Well, Salvadorian President Nayib Bukele later confirmed on Twitter, specifying that we are willing to take in convicted criminals, including convicted US citizens, into our mega prison, sycophant, in exchange for a fee.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that... I forget which one it is. Is it MS-13 or is it MS-18? Or what's the El Salvadorian gang?
I think it's 13.
Is it 13?
Yeah.
There's a few, isn't there? But don't they come from this prison system? Won't that increase the amount of people who... And those prisoners who are Americans who want to go back there, probably, after their sentence. Like... I mean, this is even before, like, okay, we're just, like, putting, like, you're going to do what? You're going to send prisoners to a foreign prison that's known for human rights abuse. That's... where do you even start with how wrong that is? I mean, again, that's police state. It's militarized police state. Guess who thought it was a wicked idea?
Alex Jones.
Alex bloody Jones and yes! Elon Musk. They both seem to think that this was, well, only, practical solutions. We live in crazy times, basically. And guess who thought this was a bad idea?
Charlie Kirk.
No.
Tim Pool.
No. More conspiracy.
Conspiracy. David Icke.
God's son came good for once. Absolutely. Yep. Nas Escobar himself, David Icke, pointed out, somebody had tweeted out saying, he's saying this about shipping incarcerated American citizens to the El Salvador sycophant mega prison. What if you could potentially be wrongfully convicted of a crime you didn't commit and sent offshore to rot for taking up too much space? And David Icke was actually pretty sensible. At least for a bit. He said, when are people going to grasp that Musk is one sick man who is now at the centre of the US government without a single vote in a single ballot box? People were aghast at how many Germans so quickly turned Nazi in the 30s and 40s. It couldn't happen here, came the cry from the United States. Oh, but it can. And it is. And millions are cheering. And, that's actually pretty sensible from David Icke, which is not a common occurrence, really, but
it's quite funny though that he had to use it as a chance to attack Musk again.
Well, there are some
he's just
people
been poking him with a stick for ages and just will not get a response out of him.
Well, there are people that are suggesting that two things. One, David somewhat brought this on himself by cozying up to all these people when it was clear that this was the direction it was going. He now claims to talk out against Trump and say that I've always been suspicious of Trump, but fuck off. No, you weren't. You made it absolutely clear that Hillary was the devil. Like, you didn't necessarily support Trump as much, but you made it very clear. And a lot of people are forgetting that you encourage people to vote against Jeremy Corbyn. Again, you didn't explicitly tell them to vote for Boris Johnson, but you said that if you vote for one, you'll definitely get Brexit. And if you vote for one, you definitely won't get Brexit. And we want Brexit. So you should vote for one of them. And that one was Boris Johnson. So you can fuck off with this sanctimonious, like, I've always been above it. And I remember you being very, very pro-Trump, because when I briefly worked for David Icke, I made a point of being very, very anti-Trump, just to be a dickhead. And so, you know, this is it. Like, as I said, like, David was sort of sensible, but this doesn't always last. You see, other people have noticed that he's kind of trying to poke Alex Jones, and people can't quite figure it out whether they're what they're fighting about. A lot of people seem to think that David is just trying to get attention. A lot of people think that he's trying to sort of like create artificial beef or whatever. I'll tell you what I think it is. It's that he's not getting, people aren't listening to him. It's not noble. He's not actually, I mean, he's pointed out the flaws, but a fucking child could point out the flaws. Right? Okay, yeah. It's very obvious. He's only saying this because people aren't listening to him. People are swept up in it. They're listening to Elon Musk and Alex Jones and anybody that repeats the shit that they say, basically.
Yeah, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, of him like holding Alex in a way to account, like, hey, you've kind of like pivoted on everything that we've ever stood for, but he's doing it for selfish reasons because he's the one who wants to be on top. He wants to be king of the conspiracy castle.
Yeah. But unfortunately, like, sometimes he lets his prejudices show. Alex Jones had tweeted out, full Monday edition of the Alex Jones Show. Panicked Democrats have surrounded the USAID federal building in DC in a desperate attempt to stop Elon Musk's DOGE from exposing massive fraud and money laundering. David has got a criticism of this, but it comes from what can only be described as a bit of a mental and probably racist angle, because he's not pointing out. I'll just read the tweet. He says, Alex, I've skipped through your post since it was announced, and I can't see anything about Trump giving another $1 billion in weapons to Israel. I thought you were all for cutting government spending. And what about Trump's refusal to rule out annexing of the West Bank? What do you think? Do you ever post anything about Trump's plan to eject the Palestinians to Egypt and Jordan? Maybe I missed it. And this is one of those things where it's like, you've used a topic where you could have actually said something quite sensible, and you've used it just to have a go at Jewish people. And you can say, I'm only having a go at Israel and blah, 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 and it's nothing to do with Jewish people and it's foreign policy and stuff like that. But fuck off, David. We've read your books. We know what the concept is. You're not bothered about the persecution of the Palestinian people per se. That you may be, but that's not your primary concern. Your primary concern is that Israel is the most powerful starting point to the New World Order, and it's ruled by the Rothschilds and created by the Rothschilds, neither of which is true, as part of this global cult ideology that apparently is also controlled by reptilian aliens from either outer space or another dimension. Let's not get bogged down in that. But essentially, it ties into these concepts of world communism, world Jewish power, and that is why David is critical of Israel. Not because of what they're doing to the Palestinians, not because he feels that they're being persecuted, not because he feels that there's genocide. He may think that, but this is nothing to do with that.
Yeah, it's a bit of audience capture. He's trying to pull in the people that are say on the left or concerned about Palestine and people there, you know. So, but he's trying to pull them in, and then, like you said, show them this overarching conspiracy that's actually going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
I think that's what David's always done. Like
He's
he's always
quite clever
pulled
with
those sorts of people in.
Yeah, and he's quite
He
clever.
did that with us. He did
Oh,
that say with me with the Iraq War stuff and showing us all the pictures of the bombed children there and everything. And you're like, this is terrible. He does problem, reaction, solution in his talks.
Well, it also took me quite a long time to actually acknowledge that quite a lot of the stuff that he was saying was anti-Semitic, aside from the Holocaust denial stuff and whatnot. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it was when I was reading The Trigger, which is just prior to me actually working with him and reading it, and he's talking about the protocols of the Elders of Zion being real still, and he's talking about definitions of anti-Semitism and stuff like that, and being hugely anti-Semitic in his criticism of these things. There are legitimate criticisms of the definitions of anti-Semitism, and there are also legitimate criticisms about how the concept can be used. But there's also a huge amount of either coded or overt anti-Semitism in both the conspiracy world and the wider political world. And so, if a lot of people might be listening to this and going, I don't think David was saying that. I think he's genuinely talking about governments favouring it and them doing terrible things. It's like there's an element of that. But if you've read enough of David Icke's books, you understand what he thinks the state of Israel represents, who it was founded by, and what he thinks that represents. It's this concept of the New World Order. So. Yeah, so swing and a miss there from David Icke, basically. Yeah. What is it that we know about Donald Trump? We know that he's a master negotiator, yeah? An absolute master. He just wins. He can't help but win. He just wins every time he does anything, doesn't he?
He is the best at everything.
He is hugely, bigly the best.
He is the best at being a fascist asshole.
That's, well, yeah. he achieves in multi-disciplines, certainly.
Absolutely.
What he agreed to do, right? You know, he's had this sort of trade war with Canada. Well, he agreed to cancel the tariffs. He says, like, you know what? Mexico, Canada, we're bros. We live quite close to each other. Like, yeah, I'll cancel all these tariffs. But in return, you both have to have at least 10,000 troops on the border to fight illegal immigration and to stop the flow of drugs. Now, the flow of drugs, most of the drugs that come into the country actually come in via sort of airports and mules and stuff like that. They don't tend to come across the border. More drugs goes into Canada from America than comes from Canada into America. Let's talk about prescription drugs that people need to live and can't get due to the fucking stupid American healthcare system. But we're not talking about that. Anyway, so Donald Trump, master negotiator, says, all right, we'll call it quits if you make sure that there's at least 10,000 troops on your border.
Question.
Yeah.
Is he going to put 20,000 on and 10,000 at the bottom, 10,000 at the top to match?
No, this is the point. What he's doing is he's forcing these other countries' hands, isn't he? He's forcing them to use their own resources to achieve what he wants to do. He's the master negotiator, Brent.
But you don't... Okay, you don't want people coming into your house.
Yeah.
You lock the door, right?
Yeah,
you fend people off. Like, it's not for my neighbors to do anything.
Well, there's some people have pointed that out, and some people have pointed out an even bigger flaw in this particular plan, which, by the way, was hailed by Alex Jones and everybody that's a fan of Trump as both masterful negotiations and a complete example of hardball, forcing people against their will to do something that won't benefit them, but will only benefit you. Sheerly through the force of your negotiating skills. But some people pointed out that, yeah, they've already got nearly 15,000 troops on each border. So Canada and Mexico went, yeah, we can do that. We'll get straight onto it, champ. all right, speak to you soon. Then got off the phone, probably got onto the phone to each other and went, is that Canada? Yeah, it's Mexico. This fucking idiot just told us to do something that we're already doing in exchange for something else. Fucking moron. Absolute fucking idiot. He'd also suggested that basically, that he'd forced Canada to plump up $1.3 billion in order to other security measures that would also make America safer from the scourge that was coming over the Canadian border, potentially on mounted horses or moose even, who knows. But the problem was this had already been negotiated, again, by Biden last year. And so again, he's taking credit for forcing them to do something that they'd agreed to happily last year. So he crashed the stock market. He caused an international scene. He embarrassed himself on an international level and cost his country a huge amount of money, only to negotiate to get back to the exact point that they were at the day before he was president. It's ridiculous. Now, the argument is that he's crashing the stock market on purpose, but in order to benefit certain hedge fund managers and such like that. But regardless, that's another sort of topic, really. But yeah, master negotiator gets nothing.
Amazing.
Do you know he didn't even write the art of the deal? It was
of course he did.
No, of course he fucking didn't. No, he can barely write.
Of course he didn't.
It's one of those things.
I think that's the stupidest question you've ever asked me, Neil.
It is one of those things where when you say it out loud, it does. So yeah, it does sound stupider than it did in my head. But yeah, he's just an absolute complete fraud. He's Donald Trump, and I do not understand why people continue to be enamored with him. But Elon Musk basically continues to be a bit of a racist twat. Like, the latest thing that he's sort of attached himself onto is South Africa, and the idea that in South Africa white people are persecuted. It's a bit like the plot to the Turner Diaries, really. There's this sort of conspiracy going around that black people can murder white people with impunity, particularly farmers. And there have been some instances of white people being murdered by black people in South Africa and various other Southern African countries. But a lot of that stems from the fact that this land was stolen. It's not happened in an isolated incident, and it doesn't happen nearly as much as people try and make out. People try and make out that South Africa is lawless, and that essentially you're a target if you're a white person simply for existing. And someone called Jonathan Pallison tweeted out, "White South Africans are being persecuted for their race in their home country. Also, white South Africans are one of the few population groups that are fiscally positive when immigrating to Europe. We should allow more immigration of white South Africans." And Elon Musk quote tweeted that out with the simple phrase, "Yes," which is, I mean,
standard.
Yeah, it's just grim all over the place, isn't it? Like, it's dog whistling on all sorts of levels. It's basically saying that it's the obvious white supremacy. There's the concept of the white persecution in South Africa, and here's the stupid thing as well, right? Okay, is that being white isn't enough. I know people are pretending that at the minute, right? Okay, that it's not immigration that we have a problem with. It's these Muslims or these Pakistanis or these Syrians or these
people that are culturally different to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it is, isn't it?
Now, I'm going to say that's utter fucking shit. And I'm going to say that because it's utter fucking shit. We really, not old enough to remember the persecution of Romanians, Albanians, Poles. I don't mind these Poles, right, but they're coming over here, taking our jobs and doing it in a far superior manner. Like, are just taking poor English people's jobs. The Irish, for Christ's sake. It wasn't so long ago that there were the signs in English pubs saying no blacks, no dogs, no Irish. So if you're a black Irish wolfhound, you were absolutely no chance of getting in. But the point being, that's bollocks. People will gravitate towards something that they identify with up until the point where the things that they don't identify with outweigh that, because people that have a tendency to be to persecute and to be discriminatory, it doesn't stop. It's like this thing at the minute where a lot of gay people are being told you need to ditch these trans people, right? Okay, they're dragging you down. They're the problem, right? They're the problem, and you're going to lose rights because they're pushing it a little bit too far. And aside from the fact that that's hierarchies of people, which is an intrinsically fascist concept and idea, that's also bullshit, because I'm sure that's happened before. There's a joke that from Blazing Saddles that speaks to this, right? Okay, and I won't say the words, but the point is that basically, there was levels of slaves. There was the Chinese, the Irish, and black people. And there were levels of how badly these people were treated, whether they're indentured, whether they could get back into society afterwards. But even after that, every time there's a immigration of people, even religious persecution. Jewish people are mostly white. Jews get persecuted. All minorities get persecuted because people persecute, and it's tragic. And it really, really should stop. And it's embarrassing. And here's the stupid thing: it's such an arbitrary thing, skin color. Why aren't we prejudicial on hair color or eye color? Think about how fucking ridiculous that is, right? Okay, the idea that we would be racist to somebody because they've got different coloured eyes to you. But essentially, it's the same thing. It's just something that we've picked. I mean, granted, it's quite a visual thing. It's quite an apparent thing, right? Okay, but it's daft. It really makes no sense at all. Under the most basic scrutiny, and at the minute, we've got politicians in the UK, we've got oligarchs in America, and we've got entire political parties in America that are using, and Germany, and Italy, and various other places, and Holland, that are using these stupid, arbitrary differences in order to sow division and create hatred and to change the world in ways that is only going to benefit the very, very wealthy. And it's a con game, and people need to get up and figure it out and be smarter than that. Be smarter than that. Look at what these fucking people are doing, right? And don't stand for it, basically, because they will turn on you and destroy you as quickly as they will turn on anyone else, because it's about selfishness and self-centeredness, and the idea that anybody that goes against that community is bad, that woke is bad, that empathetic behavior is bad, and that's just fucking bullshit. It's bullshit. But, that's the world according to some.